Yes and no. I think for the most part it's a really nice update, though not perfect, and from the way they design the monsters, which I'll go into as well, I think we're set up for a really nice progression into the next title updates and expansion. I'll go into that more in depth later, but if you are able to, I'd really recommend giving this title update a shot if you were a little unsatisfied with TU1. I'm going to start with some of the stuff I liked the most and intertwine some of the more negatives here and there. Obviously, these are just my opinions, and while I tend to think of myself in the more balanced camp of loving Wilds but acknowledging its flaws, I'm still biased. I'd also love to hear your comments about the title update as well down below. Make sure to keep it respectful though, no harassing others if they love or hate Wilds. For starters, I think the largest thing that stands out to me is the monster design this time around. Of course we got Steve and Laggy, and as someone who was already privy to the leaks beforehand, no worries, there won't be any spoilers here, I was initially sort of underwhelmed, admittedly. I'm not normally a Steve enjoyer, so for me this update seemed like it would just be Laggy, but lo and behold, Capcom did the unthinkable for me and made Steve incredibly fun. He has this amazing flow to him with the weapons that I use that really make it feel satisfying and engaging to fight. Both him and Laggy feel like actual threats all of the time, rather than monsters that are punching bags until they hit me with the one insta-kill move. I'm gonna go into a little bit of depth for both Laggy and Steve and how these guys really do fix a lot of Wilds issues for me and bring a lot of hope for me. Historically in newer Monster Hunter titles, the hunter gets a bunch of new mechanics and abilities, and it takes a little bit for the monsters to catch up and be able to deal with us. Wilds is no different, and for Title Update 2, this is really where they're starting to get the hang of that balance. For reference, all the monsters that I'm talking about here will be the highest level of Tempered, because I think that design decisions talked about there still apply below. The first thing I want to talk about is the use of Focus Mode. I want to turn your attention to this attack with Steve, the triple kick into double kick. This attack was practically built for focus mode, especially as Lance. It requires quick turnaround to be able to hit, block, counter, dodge, etc. This type of attack also solves the offset/hyper armor issue. The first offset is still free, but after that, if you're trying to offset the second, third, fourth, or fifth kick, you really have to be knowledgeable about where you're trying to offset and how you go about it. For hyper armor, if you try to power through 7 kicks, it's not going to end well. What I like is that with, proper knowledge, you can still interact with these. It's just a lot harder. Laggy also has this in some of his attacks. The two that come to mind for me are the hip check into instant lightning and his massive lightning nova. I'll illustrate the concept of this with Lance. These type of attacks require you to act in specific ways to punish them properly. If you counterstance the hip check, you get hit with the quick lightning, so it's better to perfect a power guard. For the massive nova, the same applies, but power blocking just does this. So either perfect guarding, which even at guard 3 still does a shit ton of damage, or using your back hops to get out of the way is advisable. This is a good thing. I want to be making decisions like this in Monster Hunter. It's something that truly separates it from its peers. You have such a large toolkit to work with that it's integral to find the best way to deal with an attack for each move, rather than just perfect blocking or offsetting and calling it a day. This is the type of interaction I was looking for earlier Wilds monsters. If the devs keep up this trend, I'm really excited for how the future monsters are gonna play out. There are still some kinks to iron out though. While Chip is a good thing for perfect block, having this much on guard 3 as Lance is comical, to say the least. I still think there should be some, but guard really needs to do more to prevent chip and recoil to incentivize using it as an alternative to evade window. Also, the reason these type of multi-hits work is that they're telegraphed. Things like Steve's scale projectiles are the furthest thing from that. There is no good reason these things should be 3 hits. 3! It's a good idea, but make these more visible or attach them to different moves altogether for the future. The other thing here is wounds. The free damage intervals feel like they've toned down just a little. Of course, Wilds moments where you get 4 wound pops, a para proc, and a KO are still there, but they happen a lot less often. As well as that, the scripted KOs happen a lot less often in the case of Laggy, and with Steve, they only result in a small tumble before he gets back up. This is good. We don't need more scripted KOs in a game like Wilds. I would still like to see them toned down a little bit more for the other monsters, and a bit for Steve and Laggy themselves too, but besides that, really good changes. All in all, for the monster designs, I am now fully convinced that Rise Break monsters aren't too fast for this game. Put Malzeno in the expansion. Sorry, quick side note because I forgot it from the script. I like the underwater combat. I think it's fun. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's not egregious, and I enjoy it. I don't think we'll fully get another monster like this, or underwater combat in the expansion, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do it for like one more monster like Plesioth. I could also see Dia Morales returning as the final update in the expansion. Okay, next up is the weapon changes. I haven't had time to play with all of them because I don't play with all of them, but the hammer changes, oh my god, the hammer changes. These feel fucking amazing to play, and I can honestly see why it wasn't in the start of the game. No other weapon can chain offset into KO into offset, and it feels borderline unfair. As someone who liked the hammer beforehand, oh my god, it's perfect now. Perfect guarding being on guard points is a no-brainer and should have been in the base game. good change. The S&S changes, as probably my fourth most played weapon besides Hammer and Swax, is good. I like Perfect Rush, and I do think the game plan of spamming 2 moves over and over with a mantle on was boring as shit. I think the longsword changes trying to diversify the way it plays are good as well, but goddamn, does it need all those other compensation buffs. All in all, from the weapons I play, they were really nice, welcome, and offered a good change of pace in terms of their game plans. The item box outside of the tent is massively appreciated. It's one of those friction elements that doesn't really add anything. You just don't have to watch that stupid animation. It's nice, thank you. All of these for me make up Title Update 2 to be a lot more interesting of content than Mizu and Zo. The hub was cool, but it doesn't really fall into that same category that I'm talking about here for me. Okay, on to the things Wild still needs to improve on, and the first, no shocker, is performance. The game still doesn't run that good on PC, and it's really rough trying to record. While you're no longer compiling shaders mid-hunt anymore, even on a medium high-end rig, I have a harder time recording gameplay and playing at the same time. No, DLS4 compatibility is not optimization, Capcom. When I turn too fast, sometimes the game stutters still. The random dips in performance, and I can imagine people with lower specs than me are not faring the best either. I see the progress you've made, but genuinely there needs to be serious work done still. As long as you don't drop the ball here and continue to update performance, I'll be happy. I don't like the amount of paid DLC. I know this isn't something that's really going to change, but man, it just feels shitty seeing some of these performance issues, then half of the title update being content that would have made amazing event quest rewards that are now paywalled. Rise and World had DLC too, don't get me wrong, but after both expansions and title updates for those two, this was the total amount of paid DLC for the 5th generation, and this is Wild's at Title Update 2. By the time Title Update 5 rolls around, we'll have the same amount as Iceborne. The prices on Wild's microtransactions are higher too. It just sort of sucks to see, admittedly. I still think set bonuses and weapon skills could be a little bit more unique. Steve's is cool, but man, Lackey's just feels flat to me. I don't really know what to say besides that. I wish it was cooler. It feels like we have too many of these skills already in the game. I wasn't super fond of a lot of world set bonuses, feeling like, well now you can get 2 more points in Agitator! And it feels like some of these are the exact same type of bonuses, just worded differently. I'm a little mixed on RNG charms and Ardian weapon changes in the future title updates. I think the community at large has very different opinions when it comes to endgame systems. Some say they want a large grind, some don't, but how does the grind play out? I'm personally fine with charms, but I would rather have preferred some sort of the augment system from Iceborne. Barring health regen, it's mostly innocuous and doesn't screw over that feeling of needing a perfect build, especially for people really trying to get time attack records. If they just applied this to the monster tree and not Ardians, it would make both competitive, because goddamn, I don't like how Ardians centralize the meta. Anyways, let me mind charms if you're adding them. Long story short on all of this, I think it's a good update. I'm really starting to see the foundations of engaging Monster Hunter combat here. I'm super excited for the future title updates as well, seeing as how this is all playing out. Thank you all for stopping in on all this, and as I said before, please leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one of them, and I really appreciate the support that y'all give me. I really only make videos for fun, but if you subscribed, I'd love to see you here. Have a nice night and take care.